Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point on AFR Talk. Senator James Inhofe from the state of Oklahoma graciously agreed to extend his conversation with us for just a couple of minutes. Senator Inhofe, thank you for staying over with us, and I just want to close the loop on this business about the regulatory burden that President Obama has placed on American business, especially on the energy industries, and now apparently trying to conceal the fact that he's got a whole batch of new regulations in the pipeline and is holding off announcing those or releasing them because he knows it would damage his electoral chances.
And it's what's worse than this is not only is he breaking the law by not coming out in October before the election, but these are even the EPA's numbers as to what it would cost people. Let me just give you an example. The $300 to $400 billion a year, that would be every year for greenhouse gas regulations. I calculate every time there's a big number in my state of Oklahoma, I get the number of people who file a tax return, federal tax return, and I do the math. That would cost each family who files a tax return in my state of Oklahoma $3,000 a year. Now, what do you get for it? Because there are a lot of people out there listening to us right now, Brian, that think I've been crazy in the last 10 years saying that the whole thing about, the greenhouse gas thing is a hoax. Well, even if they're right and I'm wrong, I asked Lisa Jackson, who is Obama's director of the EPA, live on television and on the record, if we were to pass any of these bills that are like the Waxman-Markey bill, any of them that affect the greenhouse gas regulations, what would, and we know what it would cost, would this reduce CO2 emissions? She said no, because the problem isn't here. It's in China, it's in India, it's in Mexico, and it's in other places. Now, you carry that further, it would actually have the effect of increasing CO2 emissions because our manufacturing base would have to go overseas, and they'd go some places where they don't have that restriction. That's just the one of 7 regulations that would come in after the election if he is reelected. I'm just hoping anyone from the states that I mentioned, such as the Pennsylvania, we have a shot there. Look, we have the largest recoverable reserves in coal, oil, and gas in America of all countries in the world. That means we could be completely independent in a matter of weeks, not years. If we just open up our land, our public lands, for drilling, we know it's there. We know that we would be able to be completely independent. But he has a war on fossil fuels, and of course that's coal, oil, and gas. So it's a big thing. The price of gas at the pumps is high because he has restricted the production on public lands.
Our guest has been Senator James Inhofe. He is the ranking member of the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works and has been one of the leading lawmakers in D.C. to call this global warming thing for exactly what it is, to call it a hoax. And
Tell you to read my book, Brian, The Greatest Hoax. It's on all the websites.
And, it's interesting. I read a column. I don't remember who wrote it, Senator Inhofe, but he said, if CO2 was the cause of global warming and, if there's any connection between CO2 and global warming, and if global warming was some kind of catastrophe anyway, that these policies coming out of the EPA and the Obama administration might make some kind of sense, but that's the only way they would make any sense whatsoever, that if there's no connection between CO2 and global warming, no connection between global warming and some kind of catastrophic impact on the earth, then these energy policies, these regulations make absolutely no sense whatsoever.
It's very expensive, no sense, I might add.
Well, thank you, Senator James Inhofe from the state of Oklahoma. Thank you so much, Senator. Appreciate the time you've taken with us and extending your stay. Yes. Senator James Inhofe, one of the really good guys up on the Hill. Just, and what Senator Inhofe is talking about here is, again, this is of a piece with what we've seen out of this administration, just flouting the law. Here is the law that requires the administration to publish the regulations it's about to impose on business, and these are economically significant regulations. Those are the only ones that they're required to include in this biannual report, the ones that they know are going to have a significant economic impact, especially on small business. And the Obama administration has refused to release this report. They've missed both deadlines in 2012. They had a report that was due in April of 2012 and in October of 2012. They've blown right past those due dates. No indication that they're going to release because they know that this is going to be fatal to his reelection chances, very costly. And as Senator Inhofe pointed out, we get nothing, absolutely nothing to show for them. Now let's grab, speaking of global warming, let's grab a couple of clips here. Why don't we grab clip number 8, the Joe Bastardi clip. Al Gore's out there saying, hey, global warming is the cause of all of this. We had, forget who we had yesterday. Oh, yeah, Oliver Stone saying, look, we're getting punished. The earth gods, the weather gods, Gaia is punishing us because we've been ignoring climate warning. And here is meteorologist Joe Bastardi taking on Al Gore's comments about Sandy. Let's listen.
That's stunningly ignorant or stunningly deceptive, what Al Gore said. In the 1950s, from 1954 to 1960s, 10 major hurricanes ran the eastern seaboard. 6 hit the Carolinas northward in 2 years in 54-55, including Connie and Diane, which caused unbelievable flooding in 1955. Hurricane Carol, 1954, 15 feet of water up Narragansett Bay. The 1938 hurricane, which had 186-mile-an-hour wind gust at Blue Hill, Massachusetts, blew down 2 billion trees, caused a 50-foot surge of water across Long Island. If that storm had been 60 miles further west with the landfall at the Battery, there would have been 20 feet of water into New York City. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and ever since he shot his mouth off about Katrina, we've seen total global tropical activity go to record low levels. Just because something happens in your backyard 2 years in a row, it has nothing to do with the total picture.
That's Joe Bastardi just calling the bluff. And again, as I just read you that deal, there's been one Category 3 hurricane that's made landfall in the last 7 years. And remember, Al Gore was saying, look, if we don't do something about global warming, it's going to be hurricane after hurricane. It's going to be tornado after tornado. We're just going to be inundated by these hurricanes. One made landfall in the last 7 years. Now, let's grab clip number 5. This is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller, Tucker Carlson, his name. Number to call, by the way, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. And Tucker Carlson talking about the fact that Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey, has been out there saying these wonderful things about Barack Obama. Now, all Barack Obama did, I mean, I don't get this, because the governor of New York, who's a Democrat, Mario Cuomo, he didn't say anything about how wonderful Barack Obama is. The mayor of Virginia, Bob McDonnell, he didn't say anything about how wonderful Barack Obama. But Chris Christie cannot get enough of Barack Obama. And all Barack Obama did is write a check with other people's money. All Barack Obama did is give Chris Christie in New Jersey our money. That's all he did. It's not his money. He didn't do anything heroic here. He just gave away other people's money. And for some reason, Chris Christie thinks this is just a marvelous example of the Boy Scout that Barack Obama is. And Tucker Carlson here thinks that there's a hidden agenda here behind Chris Christie. It's a little bit like Bill Clinton, who's out there sabotaging Barack Obama everywhere he goes. He says that it hurt my feelings. You know, Bill Clinton out there saying, hey, Barack Obama told me that Jeep ad, it hurt my feelings. Well, that's just sabotaging Barack Obama, because it paints Barack Obama as somebody that's thin-skinned and is full of self-pity, feels sorry for himself. I mean, you talk about painting a picture of Barack Obama as somebody that's weak and sniveling. That's what Bill Clinton's out there doing. I think he's paying Barack Obama back for what he's trying to do to Hillary Clinton. And I don't think Bill cares about Hillary Clinton. He just wants to get back close to the White House himself in 2016. That's what ticking him off. Well, here's Tucker Carlson speculating on why it is that Chris Christie is being so nice to Barack Obama.
How about the passive aggression from the governor of New Jersey, Chris Christie, who really, really just flat out doesn't like Mitt Romney. And I don't care what anybody says. That is absolutely obvious. This is a guy who wants to run with a clean slate in 2016. He was sticking the shiv in yesterday.
So Tucker Carlson is saying he thinks that what Chris Christie's trying to do is he's trying to engineer Mitt Romney's defeat so that Chris Christie can run for president in 2016. Now, clip number 6, this is just insanity. This is economic lunacy. This is from an economist at the University of Maryland. And I want you to listen to what he had, because you are smarter than this guy. Now realize, well, let's play the clip and then we'll evaluate. Here's a University of Maryland economist, Peter Morrissey, talking about the impact of Hurricane Sandy on the economy. Let's listen.
If we have $20 billion in property damage, we'll spend more than that rebuilding. We always do, especially along the shore, because the property is so valuable. We'll build bigger homes, bigger businesses, and so forth. Obsolete capital will be replaced by modern capital, and that's a good thing. We'll get the multiplier effect out of that. You know, if you spend $1 on infrastructure, you get $1.80 in GDP from additional spending. And, so we'll get those kinds of benefits. I think that by the time this is all done, the effect on GDP will be to depress it immediately, but then to lift it down the road so that the net effect might actually be a little bit positive in terms of, GDP growth for the United States as a whole.
So that's an economist saying, look, Hurricane Sandy is going to be good for the economy. This is economic lunacy. It's economic imbecility. And Frederick Bastiat talked about this back in the 19th century in his book, The Law, and he refers to it as the broken window fallacy, because you look at a guy, let's say you got I think the example he gives is of a shoemaker, and he gets a busted window. Shopkeeper gets a busted window in his shop, so he has to hire the guy to come and fix the window. And everybody says, hey, isn't that wonderful? That's the economy being stimulated. Here's a window repairer. He's got a job. He gets money because the shopkeeper pays him money. And what Bastiat says, well, you're looking at what you can see, which is a guy doing a job and getting paid for it. What you are not looking at, what you're not noticing, is what you cannot see, and that's the lost opportunity cost. In other words, he says, look, if that guy comes in and repairs the window, things are just back to where they were. Nothing's been stimulated. Nothing's been improved. No asset has been created. Just some damage has been repaired. There's nothing contributed to the economy whatsoever. Because that money that was used to repair the broken window, that is not money. That's not money now that the shopkeeper can use to expand his inventory. It's not money he can use to expand his shop. It's not money he can use to hire new people. It's not money he can use to raise the wages of people who work for him. It's lost money. It's a drain on the economy. Now, it'd be one thing if he was paying that window guy to put new windows in an expanded part of his shop. That's expansion. That's growth. That's economic development, but that's not what we're talking about. So these economists that say these disasters are good for the economy, they have no idea what they're talking about. You now are more educated and smarter than they are. Focal Point, AFR Talk.
When it comes to keeping our kids safe, we pay attention to the details.